Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, we're back on the Investigative Journal, and let's keep the days straight, Greg. It's November 1st. It is a Wednesday in 2017. And yes, I did get through Halloween without doing a Halloween pagan show. I usually do it, and this year I just wanted to forget about it. As we know, if you go back to my old shows, very simple, October 31st, then just add a year. And you can probably find a show regarding how Halloween is a pagan holiday. And today, as I went into the grocery store, everybody had their masks on or their face painted. There were costumes galore all over the place. And I took the opportunity to stop each and every person and say, do you realize that this is a pagan holiday? And guess what response I got? Oh, go to hell. We're having a lot of fun. That was basically the general response. Not really. Some of them didn't swear, but some of them looked at me like, are you crazy? Pagan holiday? Halloween's just a pagan fun game. What do you mean a pagan fun game? One person said. And I said, what's a pagan fun game? Well, you know something? If you believe in Christianity, don't you? I said, well, yeah. And they said, well, you should try paganism. It's a lot more fun. You know what we do? Oh, God. I said, no, I don't want to know. So, I kept going, kept talking to these people, everyone with a costume. And I said, I have my costume on. And they say, oh, really? What are you going as? The ugliest man in the world? And I went, oh, that's quite a joke. You got to do better than that if you want to do stand-up comedy. So anyway, that's how I spent my Halloween yesterday. Besides not doing a show, I said I did my show on the streets of America. Yes, that's where they were. The show went on just like it does every day. It's just a big play, and you are an extra in this great movie that the Illuminati, the Vatican-led Illuminati, has created for us. Everything in it is fictional. Remember the movie The Truman Show? And not about Harry Truman, the president? Jim Carrey. And they kind of told us what we live in. We were captured into this world, and they're watching us and manipulating us. And we're really living in a dome. We can't get out. We're prisoners. And they are the guards at the prison door, not letting us out of that, out of that matrix that they've created for us. Everything's not real. That's what you walk into every day. But you think it's real. So then some existentialist would say, if you think it's real, it is real. And so that's their premise. If you think it's real, it's real. And we go on. So, what do I mean by the Vatican-led New World Order? Someone emailed me the other day. What do you mean by that? And I said, well, it's as it says, the Vatican-led New World Order. You know what the New World Order is? Of course, they said. And I said, what? And they gave me an explanation like, oh, it's the elite people trying to create a one-world government, a one-world religion. And I said, that's it? And it's led by who? And he said, well, the Vatican. I said, good. And I said, do you know why it's led by the Vatican? And he said, no. And I said, well, I am not going to go over it now. It's too long. It's too complicated. But I will tell you this. You can go back to all my shows. Go to my website at greganthonysjournal.wordpress.com, and you can get all the shows going back over 12 years. And if you feel compelled, hit that donate button. We're listener-sponsored. Go right ahead. Anybody out there right now, go right ahead. Let me update you on my latest contest. And it's called the Great Create a Religion Contest. And I put some instructions up there. You can Google it. You just go on my website and scroll down a bit. I think it's the third story there. And it'll give you some hints. And really what I want is something simple. You don't have to get really technical on this. It could be a one-page creation. But I said, if the Jesuits can do it, so can we. And we can outdo them. Now you go there, you'll see the entry fee of $20. That's to keep the radio show going. Really, folks, it's just a gesture of kindness on your part for all the hours that I put into this show and all the hours I struggle trying to unravel the most difficult stories in the world for you. The ones you don't get on the TV, even though you pay. How much you pay Cox Cable or all those cable stations? Think about it. How much you pay for the internet and all the crazy stuff you get there. You know how many people subscribe to InfoWars? Hundreds of thousands. Guy's making $1 million on lies. Oh, he gives you a little bit of truth here and there. But you know, more people in the country believe him than they do me because nobody listens. And they use the internet to control that. See, they have something called algorithms. And that means they can control how many people listen, how many people don't. They don't want a big, truthful message out there. The truth is a no-no for them. They've got to keep manipulating in every way, shape, and form possible. And no better way to start than to think about what they've created as far as the planet that they tell you you live on. And ever since you were a kid, that's what you think. It's round. And you're in the middle. How do you hang on there? Well, gravity. What if I told you gravity doesn't exist? And two, all of this is just pseudoscience. They've never been able to prove it. And it's made such a wonderful fiction story that even Hollywood picks up on it. The real problem is we're living the fiction in reality every day. And it starts there, and it keeps going in every facet of your life. Yesterday, what did we talk about? We started to talk about the Federal Reserve System. It's not federal, it's not a reserve, and it's not even a bank. How do they get away with this? Well, it's kind of like magic, trickery, deceit. And when they talk about religions, they create all these crazy ones and they got people believing them. And what's their main goal? They don't want you to think on your own. What about politics? They got that all sewed up, don't they? What about science? They got that all sewed up. What about education? They got that all sewed up. So what do you got left? You got you, and you're hanging on to your soul like it's like you're, please, there's got to be something I can hold on to. Well, you can. Right here on this show, there's a lot of truth to what we talk about here, and we don't pull any punches. Now, we don't profess to know everything. No, I'm talking as if I'm more than one person, I don't attest to know everything. I know a few things, and I try to get at things. And the one thing you can do is this. If you don't know, you can find out. And you've got to be able to break down your belief systems. You can't allow your belief system to get in the way. And that's a real trick, because it's really difficult. Because we're guided by these crazy beliefs. You can talk to somebody, and they'll seem to be as open-minded as hell, but if you mention something they don't believe in, oh my God, you've created a firestorm. Yes, you have. And that's what's wrong with the world. I mean, it isn't so, these elites, they can come and go. I mean, they come and go, and why, I've always pondered this, why do they get control of everybody? And I contend it's because people have become robots. They've always been robots. They don't want to think for themselves, and there are very few people that do. And once people start thinking for themselves, they get boxed into a corner of, I finally figured it out. I know it all. And they don't want to listen to anything more. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. If you had one wish, what would you want? One wish. I'm not giving you 3 like they do in the fairy tales. 1. And let's stay away from the afterlife. Okay? Let's stay away from religion. Let's stay away from spirituality. Just one thing on this earth. Before you go, what would you want to do? Okay. Mine, you knew I was going to tell you, didn't you? Oh, you sneaky people. You got it out of me. Finally got it out of me. What's my biggest wish? I think I want to see the past, the present, and the future. That's what I'd want. I'd like to go back into the past and be able to see. Then I'd like to go into the future and see how we did and pay attention to the past. But I guess it's called time traveling. I would love that. That's my biggest wish. And that leads me into the segue of my story today. And it has to do with a man by the name of Nikola Tesla. Now, it's not the car manufacturer now that stole his name and they're making all these electric cars. Tesla was a real live human being. And Einstein was once asked, how does it feel to be the most intelligent man in the world? And Einstein purportedly said, I don't know, go ask Nikola Tesla. Yes, we all know about Tesla's genius and how they stole much of his inventions, all of his work, and then killed him. And then Einstein took over, and they couldn't have Tesla. We wouldn't have the same world if they allowed him to exist. But Tesla said that he could time travel. He said he could see the past, present, and future all at the same time. Now, I'm going to read a little bit about it. There's a couple good videos about it, but I always was fascinated with Nikola Tesla. And this article sent to me said that he was conducting research in 1895. See, I'd want to go back there. That's where I'd want to be. I'd send myself right back to see him. And I'd go right into his room there and say, how the heck did you do this stuff? How did you create AC power before anybody, and then they destroyed you, and look what they've done with it now, made a fortune. Nikola Tesla was conducting research in 1895, and this was when he got the first indication that space and time might be influenced by using a highly magnetic field. They've stolen all of his stuff, and they're using it for sinister purposes. They're attacking people with microwave magnetic weaponry, and that's just the beginning. What about the weather they're controlling? What about all these other things they're going to do? Yep, like zap me and you as we're walking down the street with some kind of electrical impulse. The part of the admission had come from Tesla experimenting with radio frequency. Tesla made discoveries before top-secret military programs were even invented. Yes, he was quite a person. I don't think he ever married. He didn't have time to. I think he talked about that in one of my I did mention I had an article about how he dealt with women. Very interesting. Go back and check that out. The part of the admission had come from Tesla experimenting with radio frequencies along with power transmission through Earth's atmosphere. The discovery would many years later lead to the Philadelphia experiment along with time travel programs. However, a long time before the top secret military programs were even thought about, Tesla had already made some discoveries that were purportedly fascinating. That's the word of the day, purportedly. Fascinating in regards to the nature of time and the possibilities of being able to travel through time. See, that to me is couldn't it be great? You know, instead of saying, I think I'll research the Spanish-American War, I'll just go there. I think I'll research Galileo. I think I'll just go and talk with him. I want to see how they built that Sistine Chapel. Hell, I'll just go there and pitch in. I'll act as a worker. Maybe I want to, what would you want to do? It's endless. I want to go and spend some time with the Tsar in Russia at the time the Jesuits were trying to kill him. Yes, and I also want to go to where Stalin was trained at Tiflis in Russia as a Jesuit priest. I want to sit on some of the Jesuit classes, their assassination classes. I want to sit in on that back in the old days. In fact, since we're going back in time, let's go back and meet Ignatius Loyola. Yeah, sit down with him, have a chat. I'd love to do these things. Hell, I think I'll pose as a Knights Templar. And I'll ride on that horse with that big cross on my chest, and I'll steal all the money from the tourists or the Christians that were supposedly being protected by them to get through the Muslim countries. Hey, I'll go meet Muhammad, and I'll go talk to the priest. I'll go talk to the guys who wrote everything for him and created Islam. Yeah, we'll sit in on the lessons of how they created these religions. Wouldn't it be fascinating? You wouldn't have to read about it. You can go back and actually see it. Then you can come back to the present and tell people, this is really what happened. Then, if people are interested, they could go back with you if they don't believe you. Oh, you don't believe that the Vatican created Islam? All right, come into my house. We're going to sit in this chair and we're going there. And the person will go, but can we get back? I can't promise that. Look what happened in Back to the Future, remember? They didn't come back right away. I can't promise it. Do you still want to go? Oh, hell, let's go. I give him a couple beers. He's on his way. Okay, here we go. So the discovery would many years later lead to the Philadelphia experiment along with time travel programs. However, a long time before the top secret military programs were even thought about. See, Tesla was pretty smart. Tesla had already made some discoveries that were fascinating in regards to the nature of time and the possibilities of being able to travel through time. I've always thought you could do it. I really mean that. I've always felt that there's more. It's like, you could go there. And I think they're working on this now. I think some people may have done it. That's how they know so much. The real cool thing would be going to the future. Oh my God. Would you actually know the time and place of your death? Yep. You'd probably be 500 years in the future and you'd run across this cemetery and you'd see your name plastered all over it. Oh boy. I close my eyes, I wouldn't read the date. Okay, however, long before these secret military programs were even thought about, oh, that's a terrible thing. I'm never going to get that thought out of my mind now about time traveling into the future. Okay, Tesla had already made some discoveries, like I said, that were fascinating in regards to the nature of time and possibilities of being able to travel through time. Now, wait a minute. If I traveled 300 years from now and I was still alive, I wouldn't be dead, right? That's a thought. What do you think about that? I'm still alive. I just keep traveling forward. Then I come back a little, go forward a little, come back. You're never going to die. You figured out eternal life. The experiments of Tesla on high-voltage electricity, along with magnetic fields, led him discovering that time and space may be deformed to essentially create a door that may lead to another time. With this discovery, Tesla then went on to discover, through his own personal experiences, that traveling through time came with some real dangers. See, I knew it. I knew it. Nothing's easy. Can't they ever make something easy? Tesla was said to be hit by 3.5 million volts of electricity. The very first experience that Tesla had with traveling in time occurred in March 1895. A New York Herald reporter wrote that he found the inventor sitting in a cafe after he had just been hit by 3.5 million volts of electricity. It was nighttime and he was all lit up. No, just making that up. That's how the reporter saw him. The reporter said that Tesla had told him that he would not be very pleasant company to be around due to the fact that he had almost died. I guess. He went on to say that a 3-foot spark had jumped into the air and hit him on the shoulder. Tesla went on to tell the reporter that if it had been for his assistant turning the power off straight away, he would have been killed. Yeah, 3.5 million volts has a tendency to do that. Tesla went on to tell the reporter that when he was in contact with the resonance from the electromagnetic charge, he had found that he went out of his space and time window. He said that he had been able to see the past, present, and future at the very same time. He admitted that he had been paralyzed in the electromagnetic field, and so he had been able to help himself. Thankfully, his assistant had been beside him and was able to turn off the power before any severe and permanent damage had been done. So this is a dangerous thing. It's not just sitting in my chair with that guy. I'm going back. This is complicated, but maybe they figured it out. Incident said to be repeated in Philadelphia experiment by the U.S. Navy. Okay, this is quite interesting. Why is the Navy doing these things with our money and not telling us? I am so sick and tired of that. They just think they can do anything without telling us, and we pay for it. Well, I don't particularly pay for it, but a lot of people do. I don't have any money to pay for it. Many years later, the repetition of the exact same incident occurred during a Philadelphia experiment. The Philadelphia experiment. However, this led to sailors being left outside of the window space reference for a long time, and this, of course, had results that were disastrous. How come I've never heard of this? Where have I been all these years? Have you heard of this? I know there's going to be a couple smart Alex emailing me. Boy, you don't know anything, Greg. How long have you been on this planet? Oh, there you go, using that word planet. It's not a planet. The Philadelphia experiment was the alleged military experiment which was said to have been carried out by the U.S. Navy in 1943. It was said that the escort, the USS Eldridge, had become invisible to enemies. However, the U.S. Navy has always said that no such experiment happened, and the claims of the ship becoming invisible did not conform to physical laws. Oh, sure. That's what they tell us. But did it really happen? Those are the questions. And what about Tesla? Did he ever try it again? Would you try that again after getting hit by 3.5 million volts? I'm sure he tried to figure some way out to do this, but I guess what he's saying is trying to figure this. If you electrify yourself enough, you put yourself into you open a door or something, where you break through the time and you enter into a different world, so to speak, right? I've heard about those two worlds colliding, I've heard about them sort of like in the real world, like you have two worlds. You have, remember the Seinfeld joke? You have Independent George, who hangs out with Jerry and Elaine. And then you have the romantic George, who was supposed to get married to his girlfriend, who he happened to accidentally kill right before the wedding. Well, he didn't kill her. He just bought, remember that? He bought the cheapest envelopes for their wedding, and she had to lick 500 envelopes, and the poison from the envelopes knocked her off. Remember that? So he had Independent George colliding with, romantic George. And if the two worlds collide, they will destroy Independent George. So would that happen if you're traveling in time? You would have Greg of 2017 colliding with Greg of 20,070. And would that collision cause one of them to be destroyed? I would hope it would be not. Or could it destroy both? Boy, the things we think of here. Somebody please come up with an answer. And, the farther we go with this, we could really figure something out. But do you think that ship really was invisible? Did that ever... I wouldn't believe a thing the Navy says, or the Army, or the Air Force, or the Coast Guard when it comes to these things. They have a tendency to want to keep things private, so to speak. And it's supposed to be public. It's just that's a topsy-turvy world. What's true is false, and what's false is true. What's white is black, what black is white. All the analogies we use when we talk about how the Jesuit-led, Vatican-led New World Order operates, and the tentacles go, whoa, way down. Way out. And it would be interesting to go in the future and see what this world would be like 400 years from now, wouldn't it? And the question becomes, none of us are going to live 400 years. That's a given. Unless, are they still doing, cryogenics, where they freeze you and you come back later? We're not going to live 400 years. So is there a possibility we're going to see it from somewhere? That's another big question I've always had. And then someone, smart aleck will email me and go, Greg, you realize that when you go, it's going to be complete blackness. I said, thanks. Give me some hope. I love people who give me hope. That's a scary thought. Don't tell me before dinner. All right, we're all out of time on this first half hour. Don't go away. Come back right away. 3 minutes, we'll be back on the Investigative Journal.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
Okay, that was a quick 3 minutes back on the Investigative Journal. Let's get our bearings straight. It's November 1st, 2017. And, we were talking about how I did not do a Halloween pagan show. But I also forgot to mention that, this was an important date. Yesterday, October 31st, 2017, the Reformation led by Martin Luther King had its 500th anniversary. Yes, but how does the media today talk about it? We'll find out. It's just a quick story, so we've got a lot more to cover on the Investigative Journal this afternoon, this evening, and this night, this morning, whatever time frame you're in. Because I got people that listen in New Zealand, so it's like 20 hours ahead of us, so I never know what time it is where they're listening. So I cover all my bases. Okay, the immense difference between the Bible and the doctrines of Catholic Church led Luther to expose this deception and bring out the truth. This, by the way, in line with Scripture. In Ephesians 5:11 it says, "And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them." That protest started what we know now as Protestantism, which in turn resulted now in a multitude of denominations. For decades, the Catholic Church has invested greatly in reversing the split-off through the ecumenical movement, the charismatic Catholic movement. Today, in the recent days, the mainstream media has taken the position that the Reformation was bad. I wonder why, because they're controlled by the Vatican. Right, and the Jesuits. The views between the Catholic Church and all other denominations have become so small, allegedly, that it is time for reconciliation. Now, what did that scripture say? An article recently on Fox News, as far as to conclude as follows, and I'll read you just a portion of it. Quote, in other words, the Reformation failed. 500 years on, the only viable Protestant future, the only evangelical future, the only future faithful to the Reformers' vision is a Catholic future. Whoa! And who says they're not controlled by the Catholic Church? And I think Protestants wouldn't even object anymore, because they're really not Protestants, are they? They've been taken over by the ecumenical movement. And the reality is that the reconciliation has already been agreed upon behind the scenes, and that most denominations, for example, are all under the World Council of Churches, have already aligned themselves under the Catholic Church, also called the Mother Church. Not my mother. The importance of this is that it fulfills biblical prophecies regarding the end times. It is the proverbial writing on the wall that the one world religion is on the brink of materializing. Wow. Interesting. Okay, I just got a big tip. Just came across my computer. There was a big meeting yesterday. And, you know, I've always said that all these people, no matter if they're on the left or the right, whether they espouse democracy or criticize communism or vice versa, they all work together. And there was a meeting of all these people yesterday regarding a very important subject. I'm going to tell you who was at this meeting. Members of ISIS, MS-13 was there, members of Antifa, some conspiratorial wing of the CIA was there, the Clinton members of the Clinton Foundation, the Paddock family, Loretta Lynch came to the meeting. It was on Halloween, by the way, and they were all dressed up in costumes. Loretta Lynch, you know, she came as Peter Pan. Can you imagine that? Her in that Peter Pan dress? Oh my God. Eric Holder was there. He came as Goldilocks. Jeff Sessions was there. Vice President Mike Pence. He dressed up as Errol Flynn. George Soros came. There was no costume that he could have put on that would be uglier than what he really looks like. So he was there. And he had some communist front groups come to the meeting as well, this big Halloween party. I just found out about it. Members of MoveOn.org. Who else? Governor Jerry Brown came. What did he... He came as Jim Brown, a football player. Various drug cartel members were there. They, of course, brought the drugs. So it was a party where they could really get high and not pay much, because they'd already been paying them, right? The drug cartel people. Some people from the Mexican consulate were there to represent the drug, you know, the Mexican government's in bed with the cartels, just like the American government. Members of the Bank of China were there, and they brought their, you know, traditional Japanese or Chinese headdresses and things from the 3rd century of the Yin-Yang dynasty. Oh, we have a number of United Nations members coming, and they all switch suits. This is what I mean by this. They switched their traditional costumes. People from Africa wore and this is funny. The Africans, in one African nation, representative of the UN, came dressed with a kilt from Scotland, and vice versa. That must have been funny. Oh, look who was there at the meeting, at the Hollywood, well, not even Hollywood. This was the big Halloween meeting, and they were there for one reason. Guess who was there? Couldn't have a meeting like this without Obama. No. And Hillary Clinton. And we're still trying to figure out what the Wicked Witch of Park Ridge, Illinois was wearing We don't know what Obama was wearing, but we know that he came with his man wife, Michelle or Michael, and we're still trying to figure out what they were wearing. We heard it wasn't very much. But anyway, members of the HSBC Bank were there. And listen to this. We had 70 or 75 federal legislators, they didn't get specific here, names you wouldn't know, who belonged to communist groups and Muslim Brotherhood front groups. Oh, we had Feinstein there, Pelosi, you know these names. Warren K. Harris, James Comey came. He came as Frankenstein because he's so tall. Kind of resembles him anyway. Robert Mueller was there. He came as the Wizard of Oz. Okay. The Chinese government representatives were there. The Russian government representatives were there. I thought these people were fighting. The individual nations. Norway came. Now that's unusual. They usually don't go anywhere, especially in the winter. It's getting cold there. They usually stay inside. UN peacekeeping forces were there. This was just one big happy family, wasn't it there? And what were they there about on this Halloween, outside of getting high? And I wonder if they were having one of their, what is those dinners they have? I can't even remember what they are. You know, with that crazy woman. You know what I'm talking about. But I can't think of the name of the dinner now. It's like really sick, occult-type dinner. What were they doing there? Well, they're participants, all of them. Now, they wouldn't seem to be on the same team, but they are. Oh, we shouldn't forget that the Jesuit general was there. He came dressed as Santa Claus. I find that kind of weird. Jesuit general usually dresses in black. I thought he'd come as Johnny Cash, but I wouldn't want that for Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash left as a Christian, Bible believer, but that's why they probably would do it. He wore black, too. The Pope was there, of course. We can't have a Halloween festival, but he had a number of them to go to. He had a couple of black masses to go to, a couple things to take care of, little blood, you know, guts, things like that before he came, and he gave a rundown of what really went on. That was in the parlor room where they smoke hashish or whatever. We had some Buddhists there, we had some Hindus, everybody was there. And they were all talking about one thing. And what might that be? Now you would think that these people don't get along. How could they all congregate together to talk about one thing? They were actively talking about a plot to destroy the Constitutional Republic of the United States. That's our country they were there doing. And all these people have a lot of power. Now, they have a real plan to put UN troops on our streets and FEMA re-education camps for you to realize that you have to be retaught what a one-world government and one-world order is going to be. Now, there's an article I was sent. I got to read it. Media. Here's a little article. Media has been telling an ignorant America for years. Okay. Let's start the mainstream media. Fox News. What did they say about this, taking over the constitutional republic? Fox News. This is the mainstream. Now, all these people had their Halloween meeting talking about this. Now the story comes out. Was there anybody there from Fox News? Oh, yes. Bill O'Reilly was there. So was Sean Hannity. I heard Jesse Waters came. I don't know, Judge Jeanine. I don't know if she was there. Oh, but the United States is announcing its support for a set of principles that give a green light for UN peacekeeping troops and police to use force to protect civilians in armed conflicts. U.S. Ambassador Samantha Power told a high-level UN meeting Wednesday, that was last week, focusing on the responsibility to protect civilians that the United States was so proud and humbled to join 28 other countries that have pledged to abide by the 18 pledges. UN peacekeepers from these 29 countries are now required to act in cases where civilians are in danger. The Kigali principles are designed to make sure that civilians are not abandoned by the international community again. She said, recalling how UN peacekeepers left Rwanda before the 1994 genocide and the Srebrenica before the 1995 massacre. Does anybody realize what happened? We've done stories on the Rwanda genocide and how the Jesuits in the Catholic Church was involved in it. It's an incredible story. Another genocide they were involved in, and they were caught hands down, and not one word of it in the media. I've become an expert, this is writer of this article, at arguing with idiots. The UN is not coming to an unsuspecting America. They are already here. They are waiting for enough chaos to ensue to justify taking, I wish somebody tell me who wrote this, to justify taking over the country. Undoubtedly, half-baked people are going to say, Fox did not say that UN troops are coming to America. I don't mean to confuse anyone on the left with the facts, but please try to answer this question. When Antifa is successful in using its newfound allies from MS-13 and ISIS. Now, we know this is one of the things I really love. Trump gets up there and says, I want to get rid of all the bad guys in this country. But MS-13 is the worst group of thugs, and they allow them to exist. They got FBI help and ISIS, as well as aforementioned people and groups, to carry out unlimited Vegas-style attacks, and worst, what is the UN going to do? What they're going to do is come in and clean up afterwards and put you in a FEMA camp after they created the mess and did it themselves. They create the problem, then they create a solution that benefits them. Pretty smart I am, huh? By policy, they are going to bring their 28-nation peacekeeping force to America. Oh, wait, they're already here. And his guy's been reporting on it for 6 years. Please allow me to spell this out clearly. Okay. I am going to allow him. Yes, I will. The deep state has succeeded in lining up unlimited funding and willing participants in bringing holy hell to America. It has already started. Now our government has sold us out and has agreed to let the blue helmets, that's the UN, they wear that UN, take over. This country on a set of contrived consequences promulgated by all those people I mentioned above. That's what their meeting was about. I got it firsthand, man. The UN takeover America has already been rehearsed under the Obama administration. Well, some of you were busy watching CNN. Not me. No. Well, I had to watch it to get some information. This is what happened under your noses during the 2 years. Remember Jade Helm? JH 15 and 16? JH beating J Helm? Sounds like some Jade Helm. Reminds me of those movies. What was that, Mad Helm? Who was the star of that? The Declaration of the United States Government, as published on Fox News, October 29th, 2017. What's happening? Things are falling. Is merely the legitimization of what has already happened over this domain. Oh, just a second. I got a little problem. Okay, problem solved. I'll tell you tomorrow what it was. No big deal. But anyway, back to the consequences of our Halloween meeting of all those people I mentioned. First, these warnings were published in 2014, a Central American illegal alien invasion where DHS and UN were commanding Border Patrol personnel to admit MS-13 into the interior of the United States. The operation was so bold that at one of the headquarters, it was reported that Congressman Jim Bridenstine was refused entry into Fort Still when he went to investigate. I also reported that foreign troops, this is the guy who wrote the story, who I don't know who it was, but I'm going to give him credit for it anyway, whoever you are. I also reported that foreign troops were training at known FEMA camps, locations such as Camp Grayling in Michigan, published pictures of UN vehicles on American soil. I saw that repeatedly as late of last fall. Fox News has invited itself to this party a little late because in 2016 it was already published. Here's Camp Grayling in FEMA. I'm looking at it. Looks like some Nazi camp that you'd see in World War II. The towers and the fencing. I can just see myself trying to escape at night, getting caught on the top of the barbed wire and just shot to pieces. Oh no, Greg. No more investigative journal. No more nothing. Camp Grayling, folks, go check it out. Go to Michigan. Let's go on a FEMA camp hunt. That'd be a fun little excursion for my tour company. You know, my tour company wants to visit all the occult sites of America and tell the truth about really what the country's all about. Camp Grayling, we could add the FEMA camp tours. You know, folks, we're going to Camp Grayling today, and this is where many of you will be housed once the UN troops take over. And one person would stand up and go, "Really? We can't live there. Is there any? I don't see any cable TV stuff hanging from the barbed wire. How are we going to watch our favorite shows?" Camp Grayling is a FEMA camp facility in Grayling, Michigan, and was the site of martial law training for the Michigan National Guard, which commenced on July 15, 2015 during the Jade 15 operation. This facility also houses hundreds of UN military vehicles. The foreign troops training at the FEMA camp facility, Camp Grayling, are clearly UN troops who are undoubtedly training for the inevitable. With regard to Obama's July 1st, 2016 executive order, and here is it in a nutshell. And I actually have opened a nutshell in reading it. The United Nations peacekeepers may soon arrive and see action on American soil following the United States announcement of support for a set of principles that, given a green light for UN peacekeeping troops and police to use force to protect civilians in armed conflicts. That's from the Military Times. Now, I also received this email, he says, from an eyewitness to the treason going on at Camp Grayling. I can't wait to read this. Dave. Oh, so we know his first name's Dave. Okay. It's got to be Dave Hodges. Whoever, yeah, I think it's probably him. Sounds like the way he writes. But anyway, you can get some good information from him. My buddy Tim and I had opportunity to take a Camp Grayling open house tour. Hey, Jackie and Joe, go up the hill to fetch a pail of water, will you? Oh boy, I can't stop now. So you're going to have to listen to him in the background. So they went on this open house tour in June of 15, and I have several video clips of something you folks are not talking about. The videos are of a multi-million-dollar urban assault village located on Camp Grayling reservation way out in the boonies. This is not the Middle East assault village also located on the reservation. It's the U.S. village. Church, post office, paint. Yep, and the dogs are getting scared. And every building found in a small town USA. To show that this village is real, go to YouTube, search OP Black Sheep at Camp Grayling. You can see some of the actual buildings. Anyway, I've attached updated photos of the prison camp that was upgraded with new buildings, communication tower, military tour guide says ATT tower. Yeah, right. Just happens to be right on the front gate of a prison training facility. Anyway, I want to mail a memory stick with everything I have. Videos, stills, satellite over time to show upgrading the prison site is undertaken. I'm scared. At Michigan, they wouldn't send us there from the West Coast. If you're on the West Coast. Where are they going to send you if you're in Europe? That's my question. This is where those troops are training this summer. Wow. They got barracks. I'm looking at this. This is scary. WNEM TV in Michigan ran a story in which they noted that 3,000 Polish troops were training in the area. Now, they're getting serious. When they bring in the Polish troops, you're in trouble, folks. You know, as they go, I hope they guard the camps because it'll be easy to escape, right? And I'm Polish. Well, you know, I might have an in. I just say, hey, listen, I'm one of your brothers, and I don't. You know what they did? A lot of Poles in World War II turned on their fellow Jews. I'll tell you that. So I don't know if I trust them all. We have seen live combat drills in Flint, Michigan, complete with explosion and troop movements. In fact, there's been documentation that could fill a book with regard to foreign troop activity on American soil. In May 2015, they published information from trusted sources that 36,000 Turks assigned to NATO were in the process of being sent to a variety of Texas bases. I wonder what they look like. Did they put cowboy hats on them so they didn't know they were Turkish? I have also previously covered the fact that thousands of Danish soldiers, did they bring some good sweets? That'd be okay with me. Trained at Camp Grayling in 2015. On a YouTube channel, Paul Martin has repeatedly stated that Turk soldiers have been reported in northern Colorado. Paul has logged many hours exposing all of the foreign and UN troops in northern Colorado. That's a beautiful state. And in southern Wyoming, Rawlins, Wyoming. Speaking of Paul Martin, it appears that Paul has Russian intelligence officers looking for him as recently as last week. Please consider Paul sharing this frightening event. Since Paul published this account, he has learned from other sources that these men were from Russian intelligence and were in uniform. The intent was obvious, and it was to intimidate, to basically announce, we are here and there's nothing you can do about it, so shut up, Paul. The takeover American has been well rehearsed, folks, and has been underway for years. And the Army has been diligently training. Now, why would our Army want to do this to us? Specifically, I think they're being told a lie, because there's many good people in the Army, I think. Specifically, referring to Army building a fake $96 million Northern Virginia town, which is being used to train the military to enforce martial law. Isn't that a waste of money? I mean, come on. Got all these homeless people. That should tell you what this country's all about. It's really crazy to me. I'm surprised it's lasted this long. And there's many different things. And we go back as far as 2011. Sherry Wilcox of Knoxville, Tennessee. Sherry's seen DHS armored vehicles back in March, and Russian soldiers manning the vehicles in eastern Tennessee. They're all over. Well, anyway, folks, martial law, that's what they keep saying, and they're all over the place. I have not seen any, to be honest with you. I see them on the 2 YouTube pictures, and I have not run across them, but I haven't actively been looking for any foreign soldiers. So perhaps these people are correct. But anyway, we're all out of time. I'm going to see you tomorrow on the Investigative Journal. And have a good evening and good night.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.